Now this for everybody fighting through the pain and the pressure. You know life will try to test you, but you promise not to give up for your mama and your sister, and your brother and your cousin, everybody else that's with you. You the one that's gonna deliver like Amazon Prime. Always on time, yeah. Even when it's looking bad, I never stop trying, cause I've been stressing, I've been crying. My depression had me blind. Sometimes I can't see the signs, but I keep going, I ain't lying. This for everyone that's grinding for their kids, you're not alone. This for every child that promised they gon' buy their mama home. For all my 9-to-5ers going hard to make that green clock out, then you just go harder, cause you still got chase that dream. For all my starving, evolving artists, just keep going hard, regardless how people talking about us. You gon' build that startup.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. This is June Colaroso of Build with June, one of your hopefully still favorite career strategists and recruiter in tech. And I'm so excited to be here. It's been a while since I've hosted a live. The last time I've hosted a live was back in June when I interviewed another fellow career coach and engineer, Mr. Arnold Morales, and I'm off today. And on that note, I do want to say that this live stream has no connection or affiliation with my employer. I'm off today, and I wanted to use this time to give back to this community by sharing some career advice specifically about layoffs right here, because layoff announcements have been taking over my feed. And I pinged and texted my fellow recruiter and career strategist, Miss Anna Morgan, to join me on this live stream today. So let's welcome her in. Anna, hello, my love. Oh, I don't hear your music. Oh, you're mute. I think you're muted. There we go.
It's Friday. We're going into a holiday weekend. We will get through this layoff time.
Oh, goodness. Yes. Hello, Anastasia. Let us know where you're from. Comment below. Thank you, Anna, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Sorry, I forgot to unmute. You would think I would know after 12 sessions going live recently that I would know to do that.
Well, it's been a while since we've done this together, so
That's
you're
right.
the first person that I thought of when I decided to go live this week. So thanks for joining.
You always bring out the best in me, and so grateful for you and happy to support. And, everything's easier when we do things together, right?
Oh, especially. Yes, it is. Hello, Laura. Let us know where you're tuning from. But before we actually get kicked off and started and talk about layoffs and, help this community with their job search, with their career, I just wanted to share some updates from me as well. Oh, someone says Anna is bringing the energy. And that says that she always brings the energy, and she always brings the best out of me as well. On a side note, I was super anxious hopping on a live, and Anna did her best by reassuring me everything was going to be okay, and she was giving her magic and good vibes to me. So thank you, Anna. I know I haven't been as active on LinkedIn. I have been busy at work. I'm working on so many exciting projects and programs, as well as working with my candidates. I've definitely scaled back on my business, and I really wanted to kind of focus on my work. But now that I've been settled in my role, I do have exciting news that I will be launching a podcast soon. Career Hustle and Flow podcast launching soon. So it's going to mimic what we've done on our LinkedIn live show with Jessica Williams and Valerie Mecki, where I'm going to be the main host, interviewing people like Anna, and asking them a little bit more about their journey and their side hustle, and really giving them the platform to share their story and offer any advice to my listeners. So I'm going to drop the link in the comments if you want to sign up for the newsletter to stay updated on the launch. But I'm thinking of doing a soft launch in the fall, and then launching it really doing a big launch in the new year, because that's usually tends to be the time where people are thinking about career transitions. But I think with the landscape of the job market right now. I think everyone's thinking about this. Right
I
now.
think so too. And if they're not, knock knock. It's time to wake up. We
Time
need
to
to
wake
all
up.
be networking and on our game, leveling up, learning new skills, updating our resume, being prepared, because you and I know, having experienced what we've experienced, that it's super important to, have yourself set up for success in the event something happens, which unfortunately for so many of us, it's inevitable sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. So it's so much more efficient when you are staying proactive than being reactive. On that note, before we talk about our topics today, do you want to share any updates, Anna?
Well, there are some exciting things coming. I go live every Thursday from my business page, and each week is a topic under my BFF method, which is behind the recruiter curtain. So giving you all the things that recruiters want to tell you, but they, either just don't have time or can't. And then focused and fulfilling strategy. So core job search strategy, problems that you're facing. And it's, just come in each week, pick a topic, share my experience, strength, and hope, and pop out. And then the third week is fabulous self-love, which is the other F in the BFF method. And then the fourth week is ask me anything. Sometimes it's a ramble, and you get to see me in my feral wild state, or I might have a guest. You never know what you're going to get on that fourth week. So that's the biggest thing. Tune in. I go live on my business page on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And then I've got some new things coming. So make sure you hit the bell on my profile, and also follow the business page so you can stay tuned in to what is coming in service of supporting job seekers around the emotional, mental challenges that come up through the job search journey.
Of that. Ooh, that was jam-packed.
Yeah.
Summary. I'm so glad that you are exciting and working on all of these exciting projects, and you're helping job seekers, because this community definitely needs our help. On that note, let's go straight into it, and let's talk about our first topic. What really prompted me to host this live was seeing all of the layoff announcements. Snapchat just did a massive layoff this week, 20% of their workforce. I think that was equivalent. I think it was like about 1,300 to 1,500 employees. And just seeing all of these updates and layoff news, every time I see an announcement on LinkedIn, it hits close to home, because I think about our pandemic layoffs.
Yeah, and it's basically like ripping open, like a traumatic wound.
Right.
And especially for people that are experiencing layoffs now, that actually also had that experience early in the pandemic. This is, again, for me, why I'm doing some of this work that I'm doing, because there's a lot of healing and like resiliency and humility and just, that grief that comes up through the process, right?
Yeah, exactly. And let's talk about the grief, the 5 stages of grief, because, and you can share a little bit more about your experience, but when I received the news, I just remember it was like almost a out of body experience. Like, I could not believe it was happening. It was done in the peak of the pandemic. I want to say it was the second week going into lockdown here in the Bay Area. And then we received the email update saying that there's going to be something on your calendar. Unfortunately, we're going to need to, because of the impact of COVID, we need to lay more than half of the talent acquisition team. You will receive an invitation on your calendar to basically know your fate. So going into that day, I was just going back and forth, and I told myself I'm not going to be laid off. I'm like kicking butt in my role. Just got this award for business impact on the recruiting team, and it happened over Zoom. And I remember when it happened, I had to shut my camera off because I was so emotional. And I just remember going through the 5 stages of grief. What are the 5 stages? You're angry, you're going to go through the denial, depression, bargaining, acceptance.
Yeah. I definitely had the anger
Oh, for
piece,
sure.
and mine came on May 1st, and my organization had like halted all recruiting. And I'm like, wait, like, do we really need to stop all recruiting because we have high volume positions? And, I had tried to raise my hand and make some suggestions of how we could, pipeline and build the employment brand and do training and all these things. And they were like, answer the hotline, the HR hotline, which is why, the hotline song became a
Oh, I
thing
remember
when I
that.
did
Yeah.
the job search hotline group after that. And, I always think about, leaders when they have to like map out this process, like how are they going to do it? And, any employers listening that may have to, conduct a layoff, like really think about the process and the people, because history has shown us, especially in the talent acquisition space, it's this cycle, right? Where, business, it declines. And so they're like, okay, we need to let the talent team go. And then, everything blows up again. They're short staffs, the stocks rebound. And then we need all the recruiters again. And so my heart goes out, especially to the recruiting and talent acquisition teams that, in 1 minute we're in extreme high demand, and the next minute, organizations are like, peace out. But I got that call, and it was just so sterile and cold, and they were cutting your technology off right away. And so this is a really good reminder when you're gainfully employed, like make sure you have your contact info of the super cool, awesome people at the company you work with. Either you're connected with them on LinkedIn, or you have their cell phone or their personal email, because, that was a jarring experience where I was like, I don't know how to get a hold of some of these people. And then I just came down, and my husband was sitting on the couch, and I was like, I can't wait up, and cried and cried. And then I took a trip because, that's my healing remedy. I went to see my family in Nashville, and, took some time, and then jumped into coaching because I wanted to be of service and to get me out of my grief and my pain.
Yes.
I was like, I have a skill set of selling, of networking, of doing resumes, how to work LinkedIn. This is the time where, we all need to support each other and get through this together. And that was definitely one of the best things I did, because I expanded my network, my visibility. I met amazing people, and was able to make impact. And, you've been right there with me through that process, and you and I connected just a few, weeks, even months.
It was the summer. We've been friends now for has it been 2 years? It's been 2 years.
So crazy.
And we share similar paths. And I remember too, we were talking about this going live, is like what happens when you do receive the news, right? And I remember too, when it did happen, they asked me, do you have any questions for us? And I was a lost of words. I'm like, no, you just told me that I'm losing my job. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I was just bawling. I said,
I always think like, how did you make this decision? Because I often think like these are emotional decisions.
Right.
And then they try to back it up with data. And so here's the question to people listening is, how can you make it impossible for you to be that person that they make that decision on? And for me this year, because I have been a part of an organization that has unfortunately had to reduce their staff, but it's through that visibility and networking. And I have also found that my visibility on LinkedIn, I believe, played a part in that. So again, huge asset to build your brand from a career insurance and career safety standpoint on LinkedIn.
Yeah. I would say this, like also too, what I've learned is building your like external network, whether it be LinkedIn or different, can you see me? I'm like froze. I'm sorry, no.
You're good.
Different groups, organizations, nonprofits, but also it's so important to build your internal network.
That's what I'm saying. Like networking internally, like making sure that you're staying visible in front of key stakeholders in the organization, that people know who you are. And that could be something as simple as, obviously, if you take on more responsibility, make sure you get pay or a title increase for those things, but have your camera on. If you're in a remote environment, reach out to people within your organization, especially if you're remote, and be like, hey, I love that presentation you did. I'd love to have some one-on-one time just to get to know you better, and, what your focus in the organization is. Because if you build those relationships and understand the inner workings of the organization, that is only going to elevate your visibility, your internal brand, and it's going to give you a better understanding of the inner workings where you can collaborate more effectively and create impact. And that's what we hire, right? Is impact, character, the ability to do a job. So just some pointers in that regard.
Yeah, that's really good points there too, as far as like connecting with people in different departments. Even always trying to speak up during these Zoom meetings, right? I've been in situations where there is maybe 50 to 60 people in these Zoom calls, and managers and leadership, or if we have a guest speaker, people are asking, they're saying, do you have any questions? Do you have any ideas?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's crickets. And this is how you're going to stand out, is when you raise your hand and say, hey, this is a problem that I've been seeing in our area. I have an idea. I would love to get some feedback from the team. So the more you speak up and the more that you show up as a leader and share your ideas, yes, it is a little intimidating.
Sure.
Especially in a virtual meeting. But I feel, and tell me if you felt this way too, I feel like I've shared this before on LinkedIn, my experience with my coaching business, hosting these different workshops and webinars for boot camps, organizations, hosting over 80 LinkedIn Lives, really helped me with my public speaking and my confidence when speaking in a virtual world.
100%. And I've noticed that just in my short time getting back on the live train, that it has improved as I've been doing presentations for and training for my employer now, and giving me more confidence as I show up each week. I'm almost, terrified to look back on the first couple of episodes, because I do feel like I've grown so much. And it's, I also think just this internal networking piece, if you're not in a position to say something in that meeting, like send some follow-up messages to people and make it about them, what you learned, what you took away from the meeting, how it inspired you, and thank them for sharing that information, because it leveled you up. And, when we say nice things about other people and that we let them know how it impacted them, that is definitely a deposit in like, hey, I know who Junette is. Yeah. And it will pay dividends down the line. And it's just a smart, simple networking strategy, but people feel intimidated to, put themselves out there. But I definitely encourage that little nudge.
Yes, a little nudge too. Yeah. And it's also really good too, a good practice if you're thinking of possibly pivoting into a different career path. But I think we're going off topic, because I want to talk about the 5 stages of grief.
Sorry.
No, it's okay, but it was all kind of related. No, I want to bring something up too, because you were sharing that, when you got the news that you were laid off, you realized, okay, I could use this time to coach people and use the transferable skills. And so talking about the 5 stages of grief, when, you're going through depression, you're going through anxiety, sometimes you feel like you can't help yourself. And for both of us, I feel like when we were at that point where we felt hopeless, we decide to step up and help others. And when you do that, that's going to really help you overcome that anxiety and depression.
Yeah. So, it's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance, right? And so, again, like the denial was like, I can't believe it's me. The anger was, I wrote a FU letter to my past boss and just purged it all. That was what I needed at the time to just get it out. I actually stumbled across it the other day when I was cleaning up some files, and I was like, wow, I was really mad. And then bargaining, okay, what do I do next? How can I still stay visible with these people? what does this mean about my self-worth? Am I not, it just rips open any like old stuff that we maybe had not looked at. And just really trying to like process that, right? Definitely depression, lack of motivation, not wanting to really eat or exercise, just stay in bed, but then there comes that point where you're like, okay, this is what it is. And for me, and like you, I was like, I need to take fast action, get out of myself, get out of my head, get out of this pity party. And the easiest way to do that is to take fast action and coach and get people together and be of service.
Yeah. And yeah, I did something similar too, where like I was going through those stages and then I took fast action. It took me literally a week to digest everything. And then what I did was I game planned. I had all these ideas running in my mind. I opened up a Google
creative.
I opened up a Google Doc and I wrote my vision, what I wanted to do. I didn't even mention coaching. It was so funny. I didn't even mention coaching in my doc. I said, I'm going to use my experience as a recruiter just to offer free advice to help job seekers, because it was then when I was receiving all of these like text messages, calls, emails from my own network asking me help. June, I just got laid off. I need help with my interview. I need help with my resume or my LinkedIn. I'm like, this is probably a sign that I should probably launch a coaching business. I can't go back to work. I can't go back to work. I'm dealing with my kids in the pandemic. And that's when I took fast action. And that really helped me overcome that depression of, receiving the
I think there was some dancing and TikTok.
Oh yeah, there was.
Right?
Yeah, and that's one thing too that I wanted to talk about, is connecting with your inner child, because when I was going through that, I remember now, I was doing a bunch of TikToks, just expressing myself, dancing. I was learning different dance moves through Beachbody with Shanti, and I got into this routine. And that's the thing is, I think you need to learn something. No, you need to start getting into some kind of schedule where if
totally.
you accepted the layoff, you took some time to navigate through the emotions. Okay, what's my next step?
Right.
Greater routine. So what do you want to share with that?
Yeah. So, I mean, luckily I had started doing a little bit of coaching before the pandemic, and I'd started getting active on LinkedIn, and, people would come by my cube and be like, I love what you're doing on LinkedIn. So this is an invitation for those of you that are working and are a little timid to put yourself out there. My experience was always like, people were like, this is awesome. I love that you're doing this. So I had a little bit of a runway. And so to your point, I looked at what people ask of me typically: resume, LinkedIn, strategy, mindset, and, put together something super simple. And I also put together a group with Michael Goldberg where we could, collaborate and just host a community and a safe space for people to process, to share their 5 stages of grief, to ask the questions: where do I start? How do I file for unemployment? How do I come up with a routine? And for me, I have to have some time blocks. I have to have my meditation and exercise, my me time in the morning. I jumped back into attending yoga on a regular basis. Tried to take my dogs for walks in the neighborhood. And that was the time in the yards had all the signs that said, everything will be okay. So that was powerful, just like walking through the neighborhood. And then I made sure that I was also like nourishing the relationships with my family and taking that time to connect with my husband or spend intentional time with my daughter. And I just took things one day at a time. And, I learned from my successes, I learned from my failures, and I simply tried to pass along, what I learned through this process. And I was so blessed to meet other coaches and amazing job seekers that are now friends. And I mean, this ripple effect and growth here on LinkedIn specifically has just been such a blessing. And it really changed me and helped support my mental health as well, when I was simply trying to get out of my own head and be of service to other people. Yeah. So that's the gift, it all just comes full circle.
It does come full circle. And I feel like we are coming full circle now, right? 2 years ago, we're laid off. It's happening with this community, and it's prompting us to give back and help. And I wanted to highlight this. Maria says, I think you did great acknowledging it step by step. Yeah, it's definitely important
Thanks,
to do
Maria.
that. This community has a lot to offer. Yes.
And Maria, is a testament too. I mean, she kind of came in the fold a little bit after that, but having the privilege to watch her expansion and confidence on LinkedIn.
Yes.
She's active on TikTok now. Like it's so beautiful to see. And, LinkedIn in general, and most of us on the platform, we love to celebrate people. And that is the magic that gives other people permission to just keep going, to write that post, to make that video, to say yes to themselves, and to be okay with going through these 5 stages of grief and asking for help and networking a meaningful way that, eventually will create this ripple effect and opportunities for them in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I think like that's what's really important is like to build community. And yes, LinkedIn can definitely be intimidating because it's a professional network, but at the end of the day, it's a great platform to express yourself, ask for help, meet other people that have also experienced a layoff, meet other people that are working in the industries and companies that you want to work for.
Yeah.
It's also a great learning tool as well.
Tons of learning opportunities.
I feel like I never looked at LinkedIn the way that I do now. Before like my layoff. And now it's, even though I'm not as active, I still try to post or comment and engage as much as I can, because that fuels me to get through my week, And I love seeing success stories. I love seeing the vulnerable stories as well. And I'm hoping that this community, I'm hoping to see more new creators on my feed. But
yes,
I love Anne's comment.
I love Anne.
You're amazing. You're amazing too, Anne. I see.
I know. Anne is the bomb. She's like all over the LinkedIn news these days.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Maria says it's amazing what ideas you get, and it is brighter than a light bulb. Oh, Maria, I'm so proud of you too, watching your journey. I know that you just blossomed in the last 2 years, and I'm proud of you. Okay, does anyone have questions? So we talked about a little bit navigating through a layoff, what you should be doing as far as having a routine, networking. What else should we talk about?
One of the things that I've noticed a common trend is when people get laid off and it's that knee-jerk reaction and they're like, oh my God, I have to tell my network that I need a job.
We talked about this.
Yeah. So this is just an invitation to pause, right? And allow yourself to process the 5 stages of grief, feel the feelings, be in the feelings, do an assessment of your experience, write down your wins, your opportunities, try to get some clarity around what you want to do next before you blast out to your network that you were laid off and that you're looking for a job. And then what I'm seeing is that knee-jerk, like, oh my gosh, I have to tell the world that I need a job, but they are forgetting to get this clarity to, be specific about what their focus is, and or not really sprucing up their their profile to fully convert and create the magnetizing kind of result that it could. So it's just an invitation to pause and do a little internal house cleaning and LinkedIn profile house cleaning.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
And then make a very strategic, clear post of where you've been, what you're looking for, be specific about industries or positions, and how you want people to reach out to you. Because social media, we generalize and distort. And so you have to be careful and very clear in the message that you convey when you make that post. So it's easy for people to share and keep you top of mind for introductions.
Yeah, I love that. Take the time to pause to receive the news. And also, I want to say that that might be also a good time to think about your next career move. Maybe this is a good time for you to make that pivot. And if you want to make that pivot, before I make this post and ask for
Yes.
help in my network, maybe I should optimize my LinkedIn profile because eyeballs are going to be on my page, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should start highlighting those transferable skills and projects that I worked on that showcases that I have the program manager skills. And I
Mm-hmm.
think this would be a good time with this layoff news, be a good time for me to transitions and up level my skills in program management. So I think that's really important, like as you said, is to take that pause,
Mm-hmm.
create a strategy while you're
Right.
also doing that, navigate your through those emotions that you're feeling as far as the
Mm-hmm.
5 stages of grief, and then come up with an action plan, right?
Yeah.
Um, that's a really solid advice here. Um, Guinevere says, for those that started a new job, ooh, this is a good question. How to discuss a possible layoff with your supervisor manager to ensure the employee is an asset to the company and understand the company's financial client and health. Ooh.
So is she asking, like, she's newly hired, she wants to talk to her supervisor to ensure that the employee or her is an asset to the company and understands the company's financial
Yeah,
client health.
I know this question. I mean, I'll speak from my experience. I've had these types of questions with my managers from different companies,
Mm-hmm.
and I've now worked at 2 companies since my layoff, since the pandemic, and it's all about transparency, right? And especially, I think it's common to ask this question to your manager and to your just to kind of get some clarity because you may be feeling a little bit anxious. And for me, like when I ask this question, I say, it's hard to not think about layoffs. It's all over the news. It's
Mm-hmm.
happening within my own network. So, should I be worried, or is there anything that I need to do to if or is there any feedback from like I'm like direct, like is there any feedback from you that I need to improve on to just make sure I have some job security? I'm
Mm-hmm.
very direct.
Yeah, me too.
So that's my advice. What's your advice, Anna?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go back to my recent experience because I started with a company in early March, and then we had a big decline in like late July or late June, early July, and there were quite a bit of dispositioned associates that were more tenured than me that I thought were better performers or whatever, but it was how I was able to be identified as top talent was also some of these transferable skills. So my coaching and resume work and LinkedIn work was actually utilized by the employer to be of service to the people that were laid off. So this is also an indication when you're building the relationship with your hiring managers, if you have some multidimensional skill sets that are outside of that core job description, don't be afraid to, kind of market those skills because you never know. I know that I did my job well, but I had no idea that my coaching skills would be of service in an outplacement capacity. And help me find that job stability. So, making sure that you have that. But yeah, to that point, work to build the relationship of transparency, trust, and honesty with your hiring managers, and just say, and make sure you're tracking your impact and maybe send,
That's so smart. Yeah.
weekly updates, especially if you're in a startup or kind of ambiguity driven fluid environment, just to let people know kind of this is the things that you did and the impact that you're making, so they can't question the value that you bring to the organization.
Yeah, that's like a solid point, and that's something that I always tell people and do myself is having was it Claire that says this? I think it's like having a briefcase, like a brag book or brag.
Yeah, Claire says the brag book, and
brag
then
book.
Orlando Haynes came out with this career accelerator that you can track your documents with, which I'm gonna get started with, which is fun.
Yeah, and that's something that I did, is like creating Google Doc of all of the projects and programs that I've implemented. And I'm always updating my manager. Of course, these are the things that I'm doing in my core job. These are the things that I'm doing that I'm making impact in other teams. So I
Exactly.
think it's really important to bring that, and don't be afraid to share your projects and your ideas with your manager or your team. That way, you're creating that career insurance for your position that you're in, right? Because they
Yeah.
see that, hey, Anna is doing a really great job in recruiting. But you know what? There's something about her LinkedIn presence and branding that could really help our sales team.
Yeah.
So that's
And
great.
then I ended up coaching the sales team, and I was also coaching and like doing webinars with the recruiters on how to co-brand themselves as their personal brand and the client they were representing. So, that's another reason that I never anticipated that my LinkedIn visibility would elevate my career in such a high and just impactful way. I mean, it accelerated my opportunities way more than I ever anticipated. And it provided financial security. I mean, I was certain that I was going to be one of, the people displaced. And I was so humbled and just like, wow, this is such a gift. And so, being multidimensional in your skill set is not a bad thing. I mean, and letting people know your areas of zone of genius and brilliance and tracking those things and over communicating where you are adding value will
Yeah.
never hurt you. So
Over communicating your value and over communicating your like goals and interests, because I'm fortunate to be on a team where they know that, I've been recruiting now for 8 years. I want to pivot into something else, whether it being program management, employer branding, community engagement, all of those things.
sure.
And once I speak it to existence, these past 2 recent months, projects are landing to me. I'm pitching programs that are getting approved. I'm getting tapped on the shoulder by the social media manager for our career page. And because of my
Yeah.
presence on
Yeah.
LinkedIn
Same.
and
Yeah. Same.
Instagram. So that's the key thing, is you want to share your value
hmm
by posting on LinkedIn,
hmm
promoting yourself internally with your
hmm
manager, letting them know what you're working on, and then also networking internally as well. I know we're going to be wrapping up soon. I want to ask her this question, Alessandra. After a sudden layoff, it's a good question, Anna. What type of company should you avoid?
So my first thought with that is, I mean, it's going to be hard to gauge. And I'm sure there are resources that give you, depending on public or private companies, where you can do some research about financial solvency and, stability, right? And it really depends on what your needs are. If you are looking for a full-time role with a bigger legacy company that has a robust health insurance package, you might focus on the big legacy companies in your area or that are hiring remote. I think this is kind of a difficult question to answer. I mean, obviously, I would stay away from people that have had recent layoffs, but what's going to happen is that the finances are going to recover, the stocks are going to recover, and then they're going to go on a big hiring spree, which is what happened, after I was let go in May. It was like the floodgates opened in July and they were all hiring again. So, that's a slippery slope. What just came up for me as I said that was heavily networking with people that
Mhm.
work in these companies and doing informational interviews. Those will be the best data points for you.
Absolutely. And that's something that I've done, and when I tell my clients or job seekers in general, if you get reached out by a recruiter on LinkedIn about a company that you've never heard of, is you
Mhm.
need to do your research.
Yeah.
I did that with my job search when a company reached out to me, and the first thing I did is did a little Boolean search on LinkedIn. Who do I know at that company?
Yeah.
they need to give me the lowdown, right? I think that's a good strategy is like tapping
Mm-hmm.
into your network, asking them, and also looking at different reviews online,
Mm-hmm.
store.
Mm-hmm.
Um, look up like company news on like product updates or launches, and
Mm-hmm.
just go to the company's website too.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's a good
And
answer.
look for, I mean, it's maybe reverse the question and like, how do I find the stable companies, right? Look at the business chronicles and the press releases that are
Right.
highlighting, companies that are adding jobs and what their story is. And, look at the history and again, the reviews and look at it from those lenses
Yeah.
potentially.
Hmm. Great. Great question. I think
Yeah,
it's
thank you.
time for us to go. Thank you so much, Anna, for
Of
joining me
course.
today. Um,
Anytime.
I loved doing a live with you. We need to do this more often.
It's so
Um,
nice. I mean, we have a hard enough time catching up one-on-one, so it's a good time to connect. And I'm gonna have to get out to California
I
again.
know, or possibly, I mean,
You can
going
come
to
to
Miami
Atlanta.
or Miami or Orlando. I was
I
talking
know we
to
need to go to
yeah,
Miami to see
I
Selena.
know. Yes, it's going to happen. Hopefully
I
in
know. Can you
2023.
believe it's almost been a year since I came out to California? September.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
It's been a
Goes
year
by.
since we've seen each other in person. Oh.
I know.
Oh wait, Laura says, my friend is so afraid of losing her job. Her current role is mortgage loan originator. Yesterday we talked about all her other. Oh, I love that. You're such a good friend, Laura. You're
Good
such a good.
deal.
Yeah, the real estate market with like the high interest rates is. I
I
can see
know.
how there's a little bit of anxiety there.
Yeah, and I think Laura, for your friend, like, I mean, definitely networking with like vendor companies in that mortgage space, or just, going ahead and like you helped her to pull her assets, her strengths together to add some depth to her resume and think about, what are the skill sets that she's doing as a mortgage loan originator, which is very operations, administrative, clerical, with a
Yeah,
little bit of accounting that you can pivot from that into account management, inside sales, specialist coordinator
sales
types of roles.
operations. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
Hmm.
fun. Yeah, and then another thing that you can do that she can do, or anyone that's thinking of, okay, I'm in this role right now. We're not doing so well because of the economy. This is probably a
Hmm.
good time that, like you said, Laura, talk about or identify the different transferable skills that you can use.
Hmm.
There's great tools like LinkedIn Explorer where it analyzes your information on your LinkedIn and then
Hmm.
you put the targeted role or the role that you're thinking of pivoting into. And it does this whole thing with like AI where it kind of shows you what skills you have for that career path and what skills you need. That's a good
Hmm.
tool. And another good networking tip too is you mentioned Anna, like for this particular person, they could be cross trained or pivot into project admin, administrative assistant, sales operations. You can
Hmm.
look on LinkedIn and see what loan originators have made that successful pivot into those roles
Hmm.
by looking at past job titles. So it's another topic that we could talk
Another
about.
thought, and then Microsoft is connected to LinkedIn. So if you do your resume in Microsoft, it has a like a sister, I don't know what the word is, but it'll give you ideas of jobs or
Ooh,
titles or keywords to help put in your resume as well.
I love that. Ugh, so many gems
Awesome.
today. Okay, we're saying bye again. Okay,
All right, we're saying
we're
goodbye.
saying goodbye.
Happy Labor Day
Happy
weekend. I don't
Labor
know if
Day
you're supposed to say
weekend.
happy with Labor Day, but try to unplug, relax, be with your families, take care of yourself. Your job search can wait until Tuesday. Although, I'm curious if LinkedIn's going to be as social on Saturday as it normally is because
I know you have to fill me. We'll talk more after. You have to fill me in with like Social Saturday. I'm still a little bit
I
lost.
know it's
Um,
crazy. Thanks everyone
thank
for
you, Anna. Thank
joining.
you so much. We will see you soon. We may be doing a Halloween special or
We're totally doing a Halloween special,
oh,
so get
and
ready and
you
make
host.
sure
I'll
that
be a
you
guest.
sign up for her podcast announcement, so you can stay tuned because I'm wondering who will be one of the first guests.
Yes. Also, I have Career Hustle and Flow. The community is free. Join that. All right, folks, have a good Labor Day weekend, and we will see you soon. Let me try to get my video. All right, bye.